Computer audio. Keep it simple. All right, now I got audio. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing, William?
I'm good, man. I'm dealing with a bunch of stuff here in the old music studio. Yeah, come on in. What's happening? No, I would say no to the mix.
Yeah.
I would say no. Hell no. All right, love you, babe. Bye. Okay. Hey. All right.
All right. Hey, cheers. How are you?
Cheers, man. I got a little Pinot here, and haven't had any wine or anything in many months. And so I'm just taking a little moment here because, yeah, it's been that kind of day.
Yeah, tell me about it. It's been that kind of year. Well,
yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for talking to me. What I'm trying to basically do is, this book that you're a part of is coming out October 10th, and obviously there's not going to be that fantasy book tour that I've always dreamed of for 40 years, where I finally had something that would just bring people out that just want to listen to me talk and buy it. It's going to be
you never know though, man, because that kind of stuff, I know that there's nothing like doing it at the time of the initial release, but you never know, man. Even like after the release, once something is out, it's out, and you know how it goes. I mean, you could be years down the road, and people will want to hear about that book and hear you talk about it. People who bought it and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that would be nice. It'd be nice if it turned out to be something that had that kind of shelf life, but I don't have anything else really to put my energy into as of right now. So it's like, well, I better try to create some sort of interest behind it. And, a YouTube channel, hey, that might be a good thing. So it's just, the idea is just to talk to people that I interviewed for the book, and maybe down the road some other people. I mean, I'm learning as it goes along, obviously. And also, I just kind of thought that with this year being how it is, it's kind of weird that the book is coming out towards the end of this year, where all this pandemic coronavirus had started back in the end of February and March, and thinking that a lot of the people that are in my book are musicians, and they count on concepts like playing in front of people and having people show up to watch them play music. And also I knew that you had a bunch of, because I interviewed you for the second interview for the book right before everything got given to Mark, the guy that's put, you were getting ready to Europe. We were getting ready to do all this stuff, and then everything happened. So I guess the first question I would have, like, what have you been doing in this downtime that you especially thinking of like how weird it is that with the virus and everything, just how people just seem to be, everyone's cooped up, everyone's mad and probably depressed, and if you go on things like social media, people are just, losing their minds over lots of things.
Yeah.
So it's a weird time. So
for sure.
What exactly again did you were going to go to Europe? And,
I was going to go to Europe, and it was like a 6-week European tour that got canceled. It was going to start, I believe, on March 25th. So that was right when the wave was cresting, and we got right down to the wire of making the decision to pull it. You know what I mean? To just say like, yeah, this is just not going to be feasible. It was still, I made the decision a week or two prior to getting on the plane, and at that time, there was a lot of conflicting information swirling about, as there has continued to be, a lot of conflicting information. But at that point, it was conflicting information for a new development in the world that we had never seen, and so there were just so many arguments for do this, do that, you know. In the end, however, I made the decision to pull, and that ended up being exactly the right decision at the right time, because right after that was when you started hearing stories of people who couldn't get back from Europe that were there. You know what I mean? That gone there and then they couldn't get back. And so, yeah, I mean, you know, made that decision, and then made the added decision that at that point as well, tours were getting canceled for the spring and the summer everywhere, right? And so everyone is dropping like flies, you know, and of course the natural impulse was to say, well, we'll reschedule for the fall, or we'll reschedule for the winter, you know, of 2020. And so everyone was scrambling. I mean, artists at all levels, you know, were scrambling, and their agents were scrambling to get that reschedule for September, October, November, December. And again, very early on, in fact, like in March, I made the decision, no, I'm not rescheduling for 2020. I'm pushing everything to 2021, and then we'll see what happens. And so, and again, I'm glad I did that. That's not to say that there's any guarantee that my rescheduled European tour will happen, but it is rescheduled for 2021 for March and April. And I'm just trying to, you know, hold out hope and be as positive as I can about all of it. And in the meantime, you know, a lot has gone on. You know, I mean, you know, I got married. I
Congratulations.
Thank you. You know, it was a trip, man, because we got married on March 16th, which is the day that everything locked down in Atlanta. You know, we got our license literally minutes before they closed the courthouse for the foreseeable future. So we were there not just the last day, but the last moments before they shut that whole thing down. And we got the license, and then the same day, you know, of course, it was naturally, you can imagine, it was a challenge to find someone to actually do the, you know, to officiate the ceremony. And we were just doing a small thing. There was no, like, obviously not a thing. Obviously, we were basically eloping in Atlanta, though, like a staycation elopement. And so we raced up to Gwinnett County, which is north of Atlanta, and we found one guy who would do it. And he was a guy that, I guess he's part of this TV show that my wife knew about, like something about, I don't know, some show on Netflix about marriage and love. Anyway, he's one of the guys on that show.
Right.
So it was this absurd thing where we're at the Fulton County Courthouse. We get the license, and then we, you know, then they shut the window on that, and then we race up to Gwinnett County, and we get this TV guy to do our thing. And anyway, we got it done, and then I just moved. So yeah, I just moved. I'm speaking to you from my new headquarters, and so yeah, it's been a busy time, and that's just aside from all the other professional concerns, you know, of having to maintain a record that's out and maintain your businesses on that front. I was lucky in that being completely kind of an independent operation, you know, my merch stores never really closed. There were a lot, you know, a lot of the major merch stores, you know, your big outlets that, you know, have all your big bands, they couldn't deliver anything. They couldn't ship anything. They had to shut their warehouses. None of their employees could go to work.
Right.
A lot of distribution channels were shut down. So, but I kept on rolling, you know. And I'm very happy to say that my U.S. store never missed a beat. My UK store, they, you know, had a little bit of a thing, you know, with limited access to the office, but they never stopped.
Right.
And same with the European store in based in Berlin. So UK, Europe, US, kept rolling, man. And so that's one of the pluses of being, close to the ground and handling your own stuff.
Sure.
Which is directly pursuant to the subject of your book. But yeah, man, it's been a trippy time, but I have remained busy. I've remained busy this entire time, very busy, in fact. And
yeah.
And I'm actually doing a live stream a week from today.
Okay.
So, had to jump on that bandwagon because there's really just not many other choices.
Right. Funny how all this podcast stuff is really taken off lately. I have a hard. I don't know why.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Captive audiences.
For me, it's like because I'm not really a musician anymore, and so the only thing I do is just kind of draw, as you know, and I thought for sure I'd be a goner with all this pandemic stuff because who's gonna fucking want artwork during a pandemic? But I was totally wrong, So I've been pretty lucky up until this point where people still want, stuff and they're willing to exchange money for it. So, yeah. But I really honestly thought, I was like, man, no one's gonna give a shit. And it turned out that that wasn't the case. And then the other thing, and this might actually also have something to do with the whole thing of the book, is that I've never had a safety net,
yeah,
living in terror of the next move.
Mm-hmm.
For me and Kristen, it's just sort of par for the course for the last 9 or 10 years.
Right.
I never knew what was going to happen 4 months from now, 5 months from now, whatever. So I guess what I'm saying is that sort of that kind of terror.
It hasn't changed that much for people.
No, it really hasn't. It's like it's
changed that much.
No. So that's one good thing. But yeah, the whole thing is pretty weird, and I've gone past the point of being outraged by stuff. I've gone past the point of I just realized I can't control anything. I can't control anybody. I can't do anything about what people do. I just have to hope and just sit tight, more or less,
Yeah. Yeah, just live your life the best you can. That's all one can do. But yeah, man, I'm just getting ready for this live stream thing, which has been a trip in and of itself because just the tech aspect of it is a whole nother learning curve. Even if you've made records for many years like I have, and you're kind of used to just the general obstacles that you can encounter with the gear in making a record, you know what I mean, for instance, or just gear to play music, guitar gear or whatever instrument you play. The streaming thing is its own thing. It really is its own thing. And right. I'm learning that, but again, I mean, I take inspiration from that, and just learning new tricks. It's cool, and I'm trying to do something that's a little bit cut above, the webcam, laptop mic. You know what I mean? I want something to be as good as it can be if I'm going to do it. And that's why I haven't done it up to now. Cause I wanted to, well, first of all, like I said, I was busy with a lot of other things. And then secondly, I just didn't want to present something that was, that was less than the best I could make it. I did do one quick thing, back in March on the day that my European tour would have started. Just as a thank you to the people who were going to go to the shows, who bought tickets, and just as a thank you, and I'm sorry I can't be there kind of a gesture, I did a thing just through the iPhone, just set up the iPhone and put it up there and sang a few songs and all that kind of thing. But this is a whole different ball game, what I'm trying to do now. This is mics and learning about cameras, learning about bit rates, learning about upload speeds, and in a way that I've never had to before. I mean, some of that stuff applies to file sharing in general. Like if you're dealing in music files or video files for sharing, you know, for like like I've been working on a couple of documentaries for a million years now, and or like if you're trying to make a record. But again, the streaming is its own world, and so these things that you even think you know a little bit about take on a whole new meaning in the streaming world, and it is very unpredictable. It's a lot like I imagine live television would have been like in the early '50s or something. You know, like it's just
definitely. West. Yeah, and you're also, you know, and like that's the other thing I was thinking, like that's kind of like. Because of what's happened, it's like everybody has to sort of reinvent themselves in whatever way until this moment is gone. So, you know, it sounds like that's what you're trying to do. You
know? Yeah. I think it's just, you know, it's kind of, you know, you could consider it a reinvention, or you could consider it just building new wings onto the house kind of thing, you know, like, oh, this is this other thing that I'm going to try to figure out so that I can always do this, even if, you know, even if and when things do revert to whatever normal will go down after this whole thing passes. You know, I think this might be something that a lot of artists will continue to do, because particularly if you're willing to take the time to dial it in a little bit and make it something kind of cool, or if you have the kind of fan base that will really follow you into that world and stay with you there, it's worth it to keep going, even when touring comes back, you know what I mean? Like, because there's a lot of places that obviously you can't get to on a tour, you know? Yeah. And a lot of these like more faraway places, it's like, well, you know, who knows when the next time, you know, I'll play like Ames, Iowa will be, you know what I mean? Like, I'd love to do it more, but I just can't. And so what do you do for that? Or what do you do for Green Bay? What do you do for, you know what I'm saying? Or some of these like more faraway places in Europe where it's like, they might see you at a festival, but you know, it's hard for them to just drive 4 hours to get to Paris, you know what I'm saying, or whatever they got to do. So for those folks, or for anybody that just cares at all, even if they've seen you a lot on tour in real clubs or whatever, this is something that you can do, and it's very intimate. It's intimate. It's if you can dial it in and make it nice, it can actually be kind of a cool experience. Now, it's no substitute for being in the room with a whole bunch of people at a gig. It's kind of its own thing. You have to treat it like it's its own thing, you know. But it's another, like I said, it's another wing to the house you can build on if you want to.
Right. I watched that thing, that tribute to Back in Black, and you were the first person that got up there, yeah. and I love that record, you know, and so let me give you my ACDC Phil Rudd question, and you can give me the official. Not trying to derail what we're talking about too much, but this is just a conversation. And so you've obviously listened to a lot of music, and you're no stranger to ACDC. So my opinion of ACDC is that music is really hard to play. I have never heard anybody ever ACDC sound like ACDC, you know, like, and that a lot of that revolves around Phil Rudd.
I agree.
And like, people think that stuff is really easy, and it's like that stuff is tough. Would you agree with there's so much space in that, and it all revolves around
Cliff Williams and Phil Rudd need their own shrines in every rock and roller's house, in every rock and roller's mind. It's like reggae music, you know. Everybody thinks reggae is so easy, you know, but if you really watch a great reggae band with a, you know, particularly a great reggae rhythm section, like if you really dig into what was happening in, say, a band like the Wailers, you know, with Aston Barrett and his brother Carlton, like like then you really understand. If you actually try to duplicate what they were doing, you see how impossible it is, really. You know, you could make that case about, you know, blood relatives and all that kind of thing, which I'm sure is the case. I'm sure it plays into it with those guys, just as it plays into it with Angus Young and Malcolm Young. But the point is, Angus Young and Malcolm Young, I mean, as great as they both are, Phil Rudd and Cliff Williams are, you know, a huge part of what propels those riffs and those progressions and
absolutely
feeling of it, for sure, man, for sure, you know. And yeah, it's like a big part of the stomp of a song like Back in Black, you know, comes from that. I mean, it's one thing for Malcolm to come up with a riff like that and stand there in front of a drummer and play it and go, this is how it goes, man, you know, all right, what are we doing, you know? But it's another thing for that drummer to kick in with a beat that anybody would say is rudimentary, simple, whatever, but with the right feeling. You know, musicians, we deal like athletes or like photographers, we deal in milliseconds. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
And like, if you're just the tiniest bit this way or that way with anything, man, like you miss the shot, you miss the photograph, you miss the basket, you miss the field goal, you miss the groove. You know?
I agree.
And it's like Phil Rudd and Cliff Williams have the bullseye, you know, and so does Malcolm, and so does Angus, and that's what makes ACDC the steamroller that they, you know, that they were for all those years.
Well, I like the way I derailed the conversation by
yeah, you know, just took a whole new ACDC detour. AC detour.
So, obviously, it sounds like you've been very busy and stuff with personal stuff and just maintaining. Are you also going to use your time to like work on new music or that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm writing all the time. I mean, I collect like bits all the time, and that's usually how it happens. Is you collect a whole bunch of bits, and then eventually you get to a place where you try to assemble those bits into something that you know that makes sense or that you like. Occasionally, a whole song will drop out of the sky, but that's rare. That's always the thing that you live for when those moments happen. But mostly it's collecting bits, you know, bits of music or a line, a couple words, a phrase, whatever. And then you try to see if that will lead you somewhere or if maybe combining this bit that you came up with 6 months ago or 6 years ago with this other bit you came up with 5 minutes ago will lead you somewhere. And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't, but that's the idea. And I'm always collecting bits, you know. And I want to keep going with making records, obviously, you know, and making, you know what I'm saying, but making records the way I've made them for the last 20 odd years, 25 years or so. So that's gonna, in order to continue the privilege of making records that way, the way I enjoy making them, you have to have new music. So it's kind of like, not only do I have to get this stuff out of my head so I don't go crazy, but I also have to have new material so that I can go in and record it the way I like to work. You know what I mean? Working the way I like to work. And then that, of course, gives you an excuse to go out and try to play it live. Hopefully.
Right. Do you have like a massive catalog of ideas and riffs on tapes and stuff that you just reference?
I do. It's you know, what I've taken to doing in the last bunch of years since the digital smartphone era really took hold is I've like got the old voice message recorder in the iPhone, voice memos, and that's kind of my jam. Like I'm always on voice memo, and then I email it to myself. You know what I'm saying? So I just have just thousands of emails from me to me with like these weird titles on them, you know, of like, and it might be 5 seconds, it might be 5 minutes, you know, it might be me playing a guitar, you know, unamplified, just, you know, 3 a.m, or it might be just me in the car driving, just like, you know what I mean, doing that whole thing into the mic, you know. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Sure,
So
sure.
it's a wide range, or it might be me through an amp, you know, where it's like it actually sounds killer, you know, like, but sometimes you don't have that luxury. Most of the time you don't have that luxury. So yeah, but it's just thousands of those, and at some point I hope to you know, maybe flesh some of those out, you know. Yeah.
Right. So for the near future, you're trying to figure out doing fuck, we just talked about it. Just doing
Streaming.
Yeah. So that's going to be something that's going to be coming up in the future.
Yeah, I think so. I you know, I don't know how regular it'll be. I wanted to start just, I mean, the big leap off the cliff was announcing a show at all, right?
Yeah,
and,
sure.
you know, that was kind of the big thing. It took a long time to even get to that place where I could say like, okay, I guess I'm going to try to do a live stream that's a real live stream, not just a, hey, I'm going to turn on my iPhone and just impromptu, you know, like talk to you folks or sing for you or whatever through the freaking phone. I'm going to actually
sort of like this, but minus the music.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, but like I'm gonna do. It took a minute to get to a place where it's like I'm gonna try to do a real thing where it's like, it. Hopefully the audio is at a better level. Hopefully the visual is at a better level, and we try to treat this like a genuine live broadcast. You know, that took a while because I knew it was gonna be such heavy lifting. You know what I mean? To get. Because and especially during this particular time with everything going on, you know, it's not like I could just ring up everybody I know and say, hey, can you come over and help me with this tech problem I'm having? Can you help wire this? Can you help do this? Can you help do that? It's like, no, if I'm going to do this, it's basically going to be me doing everything. It's going to be like a true one-man show, including the engineering and the camera work. And that is what you call heavy lifting. And that, that's like, man, I don't know if I'm ready for all that, you know, because that's hard even when you have a crew, you know what I mean? Like that's hard even when other people are involved who are experts in their respective fields. Stuff goes wrong all the time, you know, and at the highest level, you know, and I know, I've been there, I see, like, it's like, why isn't this mic on? It was on 5 seconds ago, and you have the best people in the business working for you, and you pay them a salary that's commensurate with that. You know, you pay them what they're worth, and they're even caught off guard. Like, why isn't that mic working? You know? Right. So I know all the stuff that can go wrong, and I know that a lot of times whatever can go wrong will go wrong. That's Murphy's law, you know. And like, and so it's like, despite all that, I was like, you know what? Whatever, fuck it. I'm going to just do it anyway, and we'll just see what happens. And so I went out and got some things, you know, got some gear, and you know, I've researched a lot. I don't know, whatever. And then it's been just a bunch of experimentation and wiring this into that, and then changing this setting on this, and calling.
Yeah, you're trying to figure it. You're basically trying to teach yourself and figure it out.
Yeah.
For this endeavor. Yeah,
a lot of silliness going on up in here right about now, but it's cool. And you know, the good thing though that I will say is you can't, you know, maybe you can't like call up all your tech friends and just have them come over to your house or whatever and wire this, that, but you can call up people who are experts, and you can do things like screen sharing, you know what I mean? Like where, you know, you call up the expert for this one piece of gear. And I'm lucky in that, you know, I call people and they answer the phone, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, so you can call people and they'll, you know, it's like, hey, would you mind doing a screen share? And then like a lot of the gear, even the outboard gear that you use for stuff like this, it involves software still. So you're not completely out of the box. You're like you're kind of in the box sometimes and out of the box with sometimes with depending on what you're doing. So with the parts that involve software, you can call people up, man, and get the best people and do a screen share, and they'll not just walk you through whatever, they'll actually do it. You know what I mean? Like they can get on your screen, take control. Obviously these have to be cool people that you trust, you know. They can take
kind of helps.
And you'll just watch your cursor just flying all over your screen while they just do all this magic, you know what I mean? And you're like, whoa, like that would have taken me 3 months, which just took you 3 minutes, you know, like, so that part is great. And I'm lucky in that, you know, I have some resources in that regard, but a lot of it still is just plugging this into this and hoping it doesn't blow up, you know what I mean?
Right. Got it. So since everything else is up in the air, there's a possibility of music down the road, but you know, sort of we'll kind of see.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be music. It's just a matter of when and how. It's gonna happen. Just time and money and all that stuff, you know.
So sometimes when you know, every once in a while so far with everything that's happened, I'll have a not great day, but for the most part it just seems like nothing has really changed, I guess. But my mantra so far has been just one day at a time.
Yeah,
exactly. Which is pretty much what I would normally be like anyway, you know.
Exactly. You know, I think the hard part about this is that everyone is going through it. I mean, that's kind of what makes it potentially a unifying thing, but also what makes it difficult, because the whole energy of the world changes when, I mean, literally every single person on the planet is affected by this one thing, and that's never happened. Certainly in our lifetimes.
In our lifetime, nothing like this has ever happened. So watching it unfold when it first started and getting the information, and just, you know, we just looked at it scientifically, you know, and we just went from there. And then I just thought, and I don't want to get too into what people believe and stuff. I'm trying to, because I'm over it. But, you know, I did think, you know, if there was ever a potential situation where something could have united anybody and everybody, that this would be it. And that didn't happen. They just turned it into the people that don't seem to be able to process it, turned it into this other thing. That's a nice way.
It's inevitable. But you know what? But we are united in that it does literally affect every single one of us, and we are united in the fact that, you know, that a virus does not discriminate. We're united in those things, and we're united. I mean, look, this is a trauma. This is like a massive, massive trauma to the whole planet. And so I think, you know, or at least to the people on the planet. It's not necessarily a massive trauma to the planet itself, but to the people living on the planet, it's a massive trauma. And so we're united in that, and everybody is, it's like anything else, man. Like, you know, the way people deal with grief or whatever, or any kind of trauma, or they deal with it their own ways. And we have billions of people, you know, going through this thing. So it's like, you know, it's inevitable that, like, you know, these divisions are going to happen, and politicization is going to happen, all that stuff that always happens anyway, but that now is magnified because of, again, just the hugeness of this, you know, like, and the life and death nature of it, and the economic.
I totally agree. It's just, it's yeah, and yeah, it's crazy, but well, I don't really have much else to ask. You know, this is just sort of an experiment, you know, like